Hello and welcome back to Education Technology Professionals. My name is Mr. Kussmeiter. If you guys are watching these episodes, hopefully you've seen the past 3 other episodes that we've put out. In those other 3 episodes, we've been working with a Turtle compiler, which is an online Python simulator. What I'd like to do today is actually download the Python engine. Python is a very small program and it's useful to have because you can save your code and you can run your code fast, and it's a very useful program to use. So we're going to start working in the Python engine. So we're going to go ahead and head over to Google. And so we're going to search Python download. Now this part might vary after. So after searching Python, we're going to go to this first one, Python download at python.org. And we're going to say download Python 3.8. Now this is only if you're doing it for Windows. If you guys are using a Mac, then you're going to have to click on Mac ISO and then download the latest Python there, which would be this link here. But if you're doing it for Windows, you can go ahead and click on this and it'll pop up down here if you're using Google Chrome or any other search browser, really. We're going to go ahead and say open. And now Python's going to go through the installation process. So we had downloaded Python and now we're installing it into our computer. So we're going to go ahead and say install now. The computer is going to say, would you like to make these changes on your hard drive? And you're going to say yes. And then we'll wait a little bit and we'll let Python download. Alrighty, so our installation process was successful. It might not look like anything's changed, but we have downloaded Python. And now if I go over to my Windows panel and I type in Python, this is searching all the different programs on our computer. If I type in Python, we'll see a bunch of different things. We'll see these different Python programs, but the one we're looking for is IDLE. This is our Integrated Development Learning Environment. So go ahead and click on that. So let me explain what this learning environment is. When you first open it, it opens to a Python shell. This is kind of a rigid way of running command lines. We're not actually going to work in this Python shell. We're going to work in the files. So if you go up to where it says file, we're going to go to where it says new file. And now there's a blank window. This is our workspace here. We can use our normal commands now. So we can go import turtle. Bob equals turtle. Bob forward 300. So I've typed in my bits of code here. One thing you'll notice, I can erase my code after going back up, so I can change things. You can't do that with the Python shell. You can only do that with the file here, so make sure you're working in the files. Another thing, you'll see that I can go and I can save this if I'd like to. We'll work more on that later. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and run this code. So I said bob.forward, FD is short for forward, 300 pixels. So I'm going to say run up at the top, run module. And before we run this, we actually have to save the file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to call it testing1. And I'm going to press save. And then once you save it, you'll see that this has run and a Python, and our turtle has drawn our line. So that's how we're going to start working in this Python engine in the integrated development window. Now that we have the Python engine, we can start working on complex code and saving it and working on it later, which will be very useful in the future. So we can go ahead and start working on a code right now. This coding exercise will stretch your brain as it goes over functions and loops. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so here we are back in our Python idle. Let's go over what I have in front of me. If you guys have seen some of the other videos, you guys have seen that the first thing that we always do is we import our turtle library. So here I am importing turtle. This gives us all of our functions and commands that we normally use to draw. So I import my turtle library, and the next thing I do is I change the background color. Another thing, when you guys are looking at code and you see in Python, you see these pound symbols and then some scripts after it, those are just comments that the developer has left for you. And it doesn't actually affect our code at all. So whenever you see this pound and then the scripts, those are just comments. So here it is for me, it's me making sense of what I'm doing here. So let's keep going down this list of code here. Oh, another thing that we can do, we can go up to options and we can say show code or show line numbers, and we could see what line of code we're on. We were on code 3 or on line 3 here. So window, so first I said WN equals turtle screen, turtle library screen object. And then I said take that screen and make the background color pink. So I took this screen and I made the background color pink. And then I had Bob come into play. I said Bob equals turtle. And I said Bob be the color light green and blue. So the outside of Bob is going to be light green, and then the inside is going to be blue. And then I said Bob.shape turtle. So this will have Bob actually be a turtle in his shape. And then I created Ted, which is another turtle here. So I said Ted equals turtle dot turtle. So here's my library and then my object again, kind of like the screen we did up here. And then we're going to say Ted.color yellow, Ted.shape turtle. So let's see if this works. Let's go up here, let's do run. I'm going to say run module. And it's going to say first we have to save this. And we're going to say go ahead and save it. And you guys are going to save it to wherever it suggests, or you can put it in your own folder. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. And as you can see, I have my turtle and I have my pink background. So again, I'm going to save mine. I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save mine as exercise 2. And I'm going to save mine in the just the local Python files. I have a bunch saved here already, but you can also put them in your documents, or you can put them wherever you see fit. So I'm going to go back, save as, save. Awesome. So now that is saved, and we can continue working on this bit of code. So if you guys recall with that last bit of code, we had created kind of this ocean-like aspect and then a sun as well. To do that, we had used loops and functions. Let's go dive into how I did that now. Okay, here we are back in our Python window, and we're set up just as we were last time. So if I run this, I'm going to have my pink background and my turtles. Now we can start making our water and our sunset. To do that, we're actually going to define a function first. We're going to say define move Bob. We're going to give it a parameters. And last time when we made a function, we didn't have any parameters. This time we're going to give it a parameters of size. And this will make sense when we go down to the next box. So I'm going to give it my colon, which is shift, and then the button next to L. So move Bob with the parameters of size. Now we're going to say Bob go forward, so FD. And instead of typing in a number now, we're going to type in size. Now, we're going to continue going down. If you guys remember how we made that sunset, we kind of had this go over and then down and then over and then back. So first we're going to go forward. And this is where that forward here, this initial forward, that's going to be the size that we're talking about right here. That's going to be size. And then we're going to do these ones here. let's see how long. We'll have that say be 10 pixels, right? So let's go do those now. Say Bob's size, so that's our first side, and then we're going to say Bob dot right 90 is our first turn, right? And then we're going to say Bob dot forward 10 pixels, and then Bob dot right 90 again. So now if we run this, well, if we run it, it actually wouldn't do anything because we're still defining our function. But let's see if we just enter in this function to see if it works. So to enter in, I'm going to type in move Bob and then our parentheses. Let's see if this works. Oh, I'm missing something. Oh, I'm missing the argument of size. So we forgot to put in the size. Because we had the parameters here, size, now I need to actually put in a parameter of size. So let's put in 100 for right now. And let's see if it works now. Cool. So we see that Bob came forward, turned, and is ready to go back and then do the same thing. So let's continue that pattern. So we're going to say, still defining our function in our function. We're going to say Bob dot forward size again. And then if you guys remember, we came here, here, and then back down this way. So we're going to have to make a left turn here. So let's go ahead and make our left turn. Bob dot left 90. And then Bob dot forward 10 again. Let's keep it even. And then Bob dot left 90. Now this is not necessarily easy to visualize. It actually helps if you draw this out in front of you, or if you go and you run your code as you're doing it. Okay, so let's see what happens when I run mine now. Awesome. So we have him go forward and back. Now we're going to have him, we're not only going to make this bigger, let's make this about 500. So that we're giving it a size here of 500. Not only are we going to give it a size of 500, but we're also going to repeat it. So if you guys remember, last time we did the repeat stuff, it looked like this. For x in range, parentheses, and you gave it the amount of times you'd like to repeat it. So let's repeat this 10 times. Close parentheses, semicolon, enter. Now we have 2 rows of indents here. So now we're actually going to take this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to go over to the first indent, and I'm going to press Control V. Now you'll see just this first one is indented, so I'm going to go in and make sure all of these are indented. Kind of tedious work, but there we go. So now we have that repeating. So now what we have going on is we have defining our function, and our function is basically repeating all of these commands over and over again. And then we're telling him to go forward on this size. So let's see if this works. Fingers crossed. So as you can see, he's going back and forth, and he's kind of doing this ocean aspects. Awesome. Last thing we have to do with that, we want to begin and end fill. If you guys remember with the other one, we had the blue going in between. We want to do that same thing. So we're going to say Bob dot begin fill. And then move Bob, and then Bob dot end fill. Let's see if that works. Fingers crossed. And this is taking a while, so one thing I'm going to do as well, I'm going to come back up to the top and type in bob.speed, and we're going to give it a speed of 0. This makes it run as fast as possible. Let's try it now. Now we have this all colored in as well. Perfect. Now it's not exactly in the middle. So one thing we're going to do before we actually use this function, before we actually say move Bob, we're actually going to tell Bob to go to the middle. So we're going to say Bob.goTo, and if Bob is going, if he's going 500 units and he's already at 0, 0, because that's our coordinates, we're going to say go to negative 500 or 250 and 0. Now he's going to draw a line, but that's okay. Let's see how it looks. Awesome. So we have our water there. Next, what we have to do is we have to go ahead and add the sun. Let's see how this looks. Okay. So to add the sun, that means we have to get Ted to start moving. Now we're going to type in ted.circle. And this is just a built-in function that the Turtle library already has, which is very useful. So we're going to say turtle, and we're going to give it a number. Ted circle 200. Oh, let's make it bigger. It's a big sun. So let's go with 400. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Whoa. So it looks like the 400 is actually our diameter. So let's make this smaller, a lot smaller. We're going to say 100. And then we're going to do the same thing we did over here. We're going to say ted.begin fill, ted.end fill. Alrighty, and we have our ocean and our sun. I think it looks really cool, actually. So really quick, let's go over what we did here. First, it looks like we created our screen and everything, created our background and our turtles. Then we had Bob go to this point. So we're going to say, we're actually going to go and comment through this. We're going to say setting up Bob. Setting up Bob. And then over here, we're going to say defining ocean, because that's our ocean. It's the one going back and forth. And then we're going to say doing ocean work. Now this is our way of documenting exactly what we're doing. So when we go back and we start reading this code, it's not so jumbled and in the moment, but rather defined and something that makes sense to you. Now make sure it makes sense to you. So me saying defining ocean, that might not make any sense to someone doing this. A better thing to actually put would be something like Bob going back and forth in blue, or being as specific as possible. So we have our doing our ocean work. For right now, we'll know what that means. And then over here, this is creating our sun with Ted. So we're going to say creating our sun. Cool. So now we have this interesting bit of code here. So as you guys are working on this, feel free to be creative and use all kinds of inputs and values, extreme or low, in any way. A lot of the time it creates something interesting. Just to recap on what we did today, we had downloaded the Python engine and installed that on our computer. So now we can go ahead and save a lot of those cool files that we're doing. And we started working more with loops and functions and drawing interesting patterns. You guys had seen the one that we had created there using the sun and the ocean. We learned that those functions you can start to define parameters for, so we can change the size of our functions. So loops and functions, while simple to do small, easy ones, they get very complex really quickly. We can continue diving into that more next time. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.